Hello everyone. So today's session we'll cover about the different messaging options in Azure, that is Service Bus, Event Hub and Event Grid, and we'll work to understand their features, use cases and how to choose the right one for your needs. But before we delve into different messaging options, we'll consider the difference between an event and a messaging. So without further ado, let's get down to it. This is the agenda for today's meeting, where I'll go over what is the difference between a message and an event, what are the different options, Service Bus, Event Hub, and Event Grid. I'll provide, as usual, the comparison of the features. And to top it all, because I understand it can get a little confusing, I have put together an architecture diagram where, per our experience here at Arina Technologies, how we have advised other customers to go about selecting the right messaging option for their requirement. So the first thing is, what exactly is an event? An event, it signifies a minimal alert that a particular condition or change in state has occurred. The entity sending out the event does not assume any particular action will be taken upon its receipt. It is up to the event's recipient to decide the course of action. Events might be individual occurrences or a sequence of unrelated occurrences. Individual events are actionable notifications indicating a change in status. The recipient of such an event is only informed that an incident has taken place, requiring no further detail to proceed. The content of the event offers insight into the nature of the occurrence without carrying the data that instigated the event. For example, an event could inform its recipients of the creation of a new file, including basic details about the file, but not about the file itself, not the file content itself. This type of event is very well suited for serverless architecture, especially in the cloud, that demands scalability. A succession of events conveys a specific condition and is subject to examination. These events are chronologically organized and correlated. To comprehend the situation fully, the recipient must process the sequence of events in order. I hope this provides good information about what exactly is an event. Now, what exactly is a message? A message consists of unprocessed data sent by a service intended for consumption or storage in a different location. This message encompasses the data that initiated the process. There is an anticipatory understanding of how the message should be managed by the recipient, essentially forming an agreement between the publisher and the subscriber. For example, when a sender dispatches a message containing unprocessed data, there is an expectation or an unsaid agreement that the receiver will generate a file from the data and acknowledge the completion of this task. Until the message is acknowledged, the messaging bus will continue to persist the message and for when the subscriber comes up and picks it up. So I hope this is good and provides a good understanding. So now let's get into the different options that are there. That is Azure Service Bus, Event Hub, and Event Grid. Now, what exactly is Azure Service Bus? Azure Service Bus stands as a comprehensive message broker service that is perfectly managed and equipped with queues and topics subscription capabilities. It is designed to meet the standards of enterprise-level applications that necessitate advanced features such as transaction support, sequencing, identification and handling of duplicate messages, and as well as provides immediate consistency. The platform is adept at maintaining reliable state transitions in business workflows, thus making it essential for operations that cannot afford to lose or mismanage critical messages. Service Bus is an ideal solution for maintaining high security communications that allows to bridge the gap between on-premises systems and cloud services, thus providing a seamless hybrid cloud architecture. So let me show you what exactly is Service Bus in the portal, and this is where I can go here. Now, what I need to do, I have created a simple one Service Bus for you, but let me just start from scratch. And but if you could come over here, you could come to the portal, and then if you search for service, you'll see this option, and it will lead you to this page. Now, if I come here, I can click the Create button, and this will allow me to create the Service Bus. As you see, there is a subscription. I could choose the different subscription. I could choose the resource group. In this case, I could just choose the particular resource group. Now, namespace is something that is going to be a unique name that's going to be global. So you'll want to ensure that whatever name you choose is not going to be not just specific for your subscription, but it doesn't collide with other subscription as well. So in this case, I'll just put like sample, like Service Bus, and I'll just put, I think this should be good. So this already exists, so I'll just put YouTube here at the end. So this should cover it. And now this is another aspect of messaging that we need to understand, which is pricing tier. That is, you could always go with premium. Premium, as you see, it's going to be way more expensive than compared to the other options, which is where what we advise our customers here at Arina Technologies is that for non-production environment, you're better off going with a standard or even a basic messaging, because you don't really need the features of a premium. Please drop in the comment if you want to have the video walk me through what are the different tiering options and the comparison of those. So I can always create one for you. But in non-production environment, you're better off going with a standard and a basic. And in a production environment, premium is highly recommended. But for the sake of this, I'll just choose standard over here. And I go to next advanced. The TLS version, you would want to ensure that you choose the right version. Of course, we recommend you to choose the version 1.2. And then if you go to networking, you could choose now that this is the main difference, because in non-production environment, you will only be able to get is only available on the premium namespaces. So that is where we say that, okay, at a production environment, you would want to keep it private, and hence the requirement for a premium tier. Tags is there, you do it, you create it, and once you do, you can always create it. And it's going to be creating it'll validate it for you. Once you can validate it, it'll create it. So it's as simple as that. You go ahead and create a bus compared to on-prem solutions such as ActiveMQ or even Kafka, where you have to spin up a VM and then provide the disk storage and then the cluster configuration. Service bus is so very simple. You just saw in a matter of 3 clicks, I'm able to create the service bus. So I hope this portal provides a good understanding of how you could go about creating different service bus, the namespaces that are there, the different options that are there. So like over here, you see it's complete. If I go here, I can go inside and see that what are the different options out here. I could see I could have a queues. I could have a topic, queues and topics. I hope everybody understands the difference. So I'll not get into it for the sake of this video. But you have all these standard features that are there in Azure resources. So I'll now go to the next one, which is that basically what are the different distinct features of the Azure Bus. Azure Service Bus is a trustworthy asynchronous messaging service that relies on active polling. It is a sophisticated messaging functionality providing first in, first out organization, session batching, transaction support under deliverable messages through dead letter queues, and scheduled delivery, message routing and filtering, and avoidance of message duplication. There is a guaranteed delivery of each message at least once. The choice of and to enforce messaging ordering is in place, and if requires, publishers and subscribers can choose to do so. The next one is Azure Event Hub. It serves as a robust platform for big data streaming and ingesting massive volume of events. Designed to handle a flood of data, it processes potentially millions of events every second. Its capabilities include the acquisition, preservation, and playback of telemetry and event stream information sourced from a multitude of active contributors and simultaneously from any other producer as well. Event hubs, they make this data accessible for an array of stream processing systems and analytical tools. And this is where in the end I have put together a diagram where it shows that how exactly you can use Event Hub, which is a very classic use case of using Event Hub in this scenario. The service, it stands out as by providing a unified solution for quick access to data for immediate processing. So let me go back again to the portal. I'll show you how to go about creating the Event Hub here. Seems I have this created for you, one sample Event Hub. And this is like the name you saw, but process is the same. But just for the sake of it, I'll go about create a new Event Hub here. And you could see there is a unique name I'll have to give. And this is not global. I could just give any name over here. Now I could give it sample hub 2. And this is the partition count, right? As you see, you'll have to provide the different partitions that are required as part of the Event Hub setup. The retention setting, the different policies you can provide as part of the Event Hub setting. And these are the different options. You have delete and you have compact. And how many hours you can retain the Event Hub out here. The capture scenario is there. It enables to capture the automatically different data streaming in Event Hub to Azure Blob Storage or Data Lake Storage account. So you have this option, and once you do this, you could do a review and create. Just show here, right, which is part of the setting. So this is the namespace that I had created earlier. And in this namespace, you could go and create a sample Event Hub as part of that setting. But first, you will have to create a namespace as part of it. So I hope this helps as part of it. And you see the GUI is kind of similar with what we saw in the service bus. It is the standard options that are out here, except that there is no publish and subscribe because there is no queues and topics. Because this is again, Event Hub. It's not the messaging bus that is there, but it's something where you have event bus hubs, you have the schema registry, and you have these options out here in the portal that you can come and check it out. So let's go back to the presentation. Now, what are the distinct features of Event Hub? It is a very ultra low latency for rapid data handling, and which is where I had put it is very applicable for big data scenarios with 3 billions of data per second per minute, which have a high requirement with throughput requirement. Very applicable for telemetry scenarios as well. There is a huge capacity to absorb and process an immense number of events each second. There is a guaranteed delivering of event at least once. Now, once it's delivered. The consumer has to be able to, is responsible for processing in case and any exception handling that is required. So the next one is Azure Event Grid. And the Event Grid, it stands as a pivotal infrastructure element within the event-driven architecture realm. Now, if you want to recall the first, what is an event? Event is something that like a trigger has happened and you would want to capture that event. Like if I put a file, or if someone has called a function, that could generate an event in itself. And if I need to process based on that, I could always do that. So that is where Event Grid will be important to ensure that there's a reactive program design in place. Now, functioning on a public subscribe framework, it enables publishers to dispatch events without any presumption of subsequent processes. Meanwhile, subscribers independently can select which events that they can engage with. Seamlessly, Event Hub is seamlessly woven into Azure's ecosystem. Event Grid is seamlessly woven into Azure's ecosystem, as well as also extends its compatibility to external services. There are different partners available. You could send out the Event Grid to. And that is where I could show in the portal on the different partners. Event Grid, it will streamline the handling of events that will result in cost reductions by circumventing the necessity of continuous monitoring. Because what could happen is that you could just say you have an event, instead of saying something is there, you could just send out notification once the event is in place. Event Grid will help orchestrate the flow of events from Azure as well as to any external which is required. The events carry essential metadata information, allowing the subscribers to provide with the intelligence to do any data parsing or processing that is required. So let me go and show how exactly we could go about setting an event grid here. So it's simple here. I could come here and I could choose Event Grid. This is where you will have the different options. You will first of all want to create an event grid over here, and you choose the demo RG. Out here, you could provide the name for the event grid. I could choose YouTube sample event grid here, and availability zones. Now, event grid, this is again, I hope everybody understands the concept of availability zones. Let me know if you don't, and I could create another video for you. Throughput units, how many throughputs are required. We'll get into networking. Now, this is where, unlike the service bus, where you have to have a premium tier for the private access, in event grid, you are fine with having the private access. But over here, what you need to do with the private end access, which is required, we will have to create a VNet. You will need to put it in a VNet for sure. So this is where you could give this over here, the private endpoint. I'll put it as event grid and endpoint. And what is the target sub-resource? It's always going to be a topic. What is my VNet? It's a virtual VNet. You would want to have all these resources as part of the private subnet, and that is where I've created a pub app subnet out here. You could choose it. You may want to choose your own provide your own DNS integration, but for the sake of this, and you could just use Azure's as well, and this is the name you could choose. It will provide you that option. You see, you could go into security. You could provide different options. You could provide system managed identity, which is recommended for an application to talk to the event grid or consume the data from the event grid. You would want to provide system managed identity. Again, is very important. You should have tags, like in a lot of the scenarios, what we have seen in many organizations, they will have a business owner because who will be paying for this, and like the application, environment, and cost center are the tags that we'll do. But for the sake of this, I'll keep it empty. And with this, you could go and review it. It will validate. And once validated, you can go and create the event grid. So you see, this is very simple. It's 3 steps over here for all the messaging options out there in Azure. It seems very simple compared to on-prem, where you'll have to set up a lot of infrastructure. That's the beauty of using a PaaS option in any cloud. So now it'll be done, and you could then go about consuming the event grid and using it as part of the application setup that you have. So I'll go back. What are the distinct features? It is flexible and it provides dynamic scalability. It is very efficient and very cost effective as well. It is serverless. It is a PaaS option, which is platform as a service. And as I said, you don't have the infrastructure headache over here. There is an assurance as well that an event will at least be sent once, and it is up to the consuming application to do whatever it wants with the event out here. And then What are the comparison? What are the different comparisons? I hope the previous ones were good. It was able to provide you a good overview with different messaging options. So here, this is the messaging pattern. And now, what does the blog with the link below also provides details about this. So feel free to go and refer the blog and take the comparison. Where is each one applicable? First of all is messaging patterns. The service bus, as it is a publish-subscribe mechanism, it is more applicable for queues, topics, and subscribers where, like if you have an application or like say a trading platform that needs to send a message and I want to ensure that the message is consumed or acknowledged or processed, that is where we would be going with the service bus option compared to Event Hub, which is event streamed. Now, I want to stream a event, like say there is a log event that has happened and I want to stream it to a downstream system such as Splunk. And that is where I will be having this log analytics workspace created and in turn sending out the events from the workspace to Splunk. That is where I could be using Event Hub. And not just that, there are many other big data scenarios where I could be using Event Hub. Where I will be using Event Grid, it's more of a reactive programming. Something has happened, I need to send out an event to someone to start a work or be notified of the action that has happened. What are the protocols supported? The service bus that supports AMQP 1.0, the HTTPS protocol, as well as the proprietary service bus messaging protocol. For Event Hub, it also supports AMQP 1.0, but HTTPS. And Event Grid, it's MQTT, version 3.1.1 and 5.0 protocols. IoT solutions use something is very popularly used as well as HTTP and HTTPS. What are the different specifications? Service bus, it supports JMS. It's a very popular and very old JMS specifications used by multiple messaging platforms such as Tikko and every other platform that is there supports JMS. SOAP, right? Web services SOAP. I hope everybody knows SOAP. It's kind of now REST has taken over, but SOAP is still very popular. REST is obviously it's for the API standard and one of the specification supports. The Event Hub, it supports Kafka, capture specification, and the REST API. Event Grid, it supports cloud events, which is where I put the link. What exactly is cloud events? It's kind of a standard specification coming up for multiple clouds to adhere to a standard events and avoid the reduction of complexity. What is the cost aspect? Service bus, as you saw, that to have a private endpoint, you will have to use a premium and you will have to pay a lot more for a premium, which is where in a non-prod environment, you are better off going with a premium tier, with a standard tier compared to a premium tier. As well as one of the things that we had, and I'll create a separate video for that. In service bus, in a standard tier, you can't have customer managed key. And most of our customers, we say that you don't need a customer managed key. You're better with a cloud provided key you're going off. But please drop in a comment if you want to get into further details on that topic and I can go deeper. Event Hub, you could use the premium and dedicated option and it can get expensive, which is where you could again better off going with the standard or basic option. Event Grid, it has pretty much just two standards, basic and standard, and it is one of the cheapest options for any trigger to happen. So out of these three, if you have just a quick event to send out, you're better off using Event Grid compared to Event Hub. What are the different service tiers? I covered a lot before. It has basic, standard, premium. Event Hub, it has the same, but dedicated as well. Event Grid, it just supports basic and standard. What is the use case? For service bus, you're better off, it's an enterprise ESB platform where you require order delivery, and it's mainly for like say financial transactions or something where the message you require ordering, you require persistence, you require reliability. That is where you would be going with the ESB pattern, and in this case service bus fits that area. Event Hub, what is the different use cases for Event Hub? Big data, as I mentioned, where you have a monitoring of an application, you want to have the data monitor. That is what you would be having for telemetry ingestion and distributed data streaming as well. Event Grid, it'll react to the resource status changes, as well as it enables pub/sub messaging for an Internet of Things, as we saw at the protocol that is supported between MQTT clients and push-pull style delivery of discrete events. What is the throughput? Throughput, it is service bus. Is pretty good throughput, but it is not intended to be a streaming platform of that. It is meant to be a more reliable ESB platform. For a streaming platform, you go with Event Hub or Event Grid. So obviously throughput is going to be lower than Event Hub, but again, it's a different product. I put it over here for the classification, but you shouldn't go about just making your architecture or tool decision just upon this line over here. Event Hub, it is intended for high streaming volume, and if anytime you need a high throughput, you will never go wrong with an Event Hub. Event Grid, either dynamically scale based on events, so you will also have a high throughput out here. It is backed by Azure. You will not go wrong with it. But again, if you want to have a log streaming, you will use Event Hub compared to Event Grid. What is the ordering? Service Bus supports first in, first out messaging. Event Hub, you are limited to the partitioning of the platform, the resource that you spin up. While in Event Grid, there is no event ordering. It is as soon as an event comes, it will fire, and it could be that the other event fires first and the earlier event kind of comes in late. What is the delivery guarantee? Service Bus, it provides at least once. Event Hub also provides the same, while Event Grid, it provides also at least once, and you could also have retry policies as part of it. The latency Service Bus, it is performant, it is milliseconds. As soon as the message is there, the subscriber, if it's listening, it will be able to consume the message. There is no issues in latency. Event Hub, Event Grid also, they are very low latency applications, so you'll not have any latency issues compared specifically on Azure or any other cloud platform. What is the maximum message size? This is something very important. A lot of applications, they may be under this assumption, or they may want to send a high message workload or payload. So you may want to consider this. So Service Bus, which is like it allows applications to send messages for sizes up to 256 KB or 100 MB for premium tier. 100 MB is a lot of message data, so it's something to consider. Event Hub, as you see, it is 256 KB for basic and just 1 MB for standard. So again, if you have an event that is message that is greater than 1 MB, you cannot use Event Hub. Event Grid, it is mainly for MQTT limits and Event Grid namespace, and the max size is 512 KB. What is the retention period? In premium tier for Service Bus, it is 90 days. You could have the message retained in 90 days. Basic tier, it is 14 days. You could do it. But if an application is designing to keep the messages for 90 or 14 days, that is a very big flaw in the application. It is not intended to be a database. It is intended to be retain the messages and move it to a dead letter queue when done. That is a different architecture pattern. Please drop in a comment if you want to get into that pattern. I can always create a video separate for that. For Event Hub, the standard tier for persistence is 7 days. And this is good because it could be that the consuming applications such as Splunk for log, and I'll show in the next slide what I mean. It may not have the setup. And for Event Hub, the premium and dedicated is 90 days. For Event Grid, the retention period is minimum is 1 minute, while maximum it depends on the topic's retention, and the default is 7 days. So now, I hope this provides a good use case on when to use which service. I'll now get into the architecture on how you can go about choosing each service, because it doesn't need to be that you just can use one. No, you can use all three together. And that is where I put together this diagram to help you and make you understand that how I can go about using all three. Now, say I have a hybrid application, which is an on-prem application, who needs to send transaction information to cloud processing, and it needs to be asynchronous. I don't need to be a REST API. For that, I could just use an application. I could use the SDK API, Azure SDK API, and publish to Azure Service Bus. Once it is published, I have a function with subscribing to those messages, and it would be able to parse the message and persist the data to blob. Now, when the message is published to blob, I could have the data moving to a log analytics workspace. And once the log analytics workspace, I will have an option to configure the Event Hub, which will directly be able to send it to Splunk. And there is a very good integration between Event Hub and Splunk. I'll be able to send that from logs of the blob. As well as I could have an event grid here that it could say that as soon as the function is invoked, I need to do something else. Or say if a file is put into the blob, I need to do something else, so I need to send out an email to someone that a file is put. That is when the event grid I could be using it for this. So I hope this video provides a good understanding on the different messaging options of Azure, when to use which one, and how you could use all three together as well. I'm not saying you should do it, but this is a use case that I'm showing here as a very valid use case. You could use all three services together to achieve the best architecture that an organization requires. I hope you all like this video. Please like, subscribe, share the video. Please contact us for any of your cloud requirements or cloud consulting requirements. We have decades of experience in cloud, and we can definitely help your organization take the right step in cloud. With that, thank you, and see you in the next video.